Bill Carroll, Z62 Media, and I'm working my way through my 2024-2025 watch list of the players that I will be rating, and you may see them in my top 300, 350. We'll see how many I get to this year. I'm going to start with a Division Three prospect. I only have draftable or even priority undrafted free agent grades, at least at this point, on about 3 to 5. I'm not finalized yet. Division Three players, but one of them is Noah Coyne from Case Western Reserve. He is a finance major, and you cue all the future hedge fund manager jokes, but he's a legitimate prospect for me for a couple of reasons. Two big ones. In fact, three: size, speed, production. If you have size, speed, and production, even if you're against a quote unquote lower level of competition, you have my attention. So, he also was on the track team his freshman year at Case Western Reserve, and this is a larger prospect. He's listed at 6'3", he's probably 6'2" and a quarter, probably about 224 pounds. But he's big enough that some teams may even see him as a possible, sort of move tight end power slot. But he came out of Notre Dame's Cathedral Latin High School and had a great career there. Played three sports: basketball, track, as well as football, and got his team to the regional finals back in 2017. Was the school's high school athlete of the year back in 2021. Was also academic all-state. Competed in, like I said, in track. Was an all Ohio honoree in track and field. And once again, he was about 200 pounds, a little over 200 pounds in high school. So once again, a good-sized young man. He ran a 11.61 100 during his 2022 outdoor season, and a 23.65 once again at the Washington Lee Track Carnival in 2022. And then his best indoor marks in the 55 meters, he ran a 7.16. In the 60 meters, ran a 7.48, and in the 200 meters, ran a 24.45. While those are not times that are going to get you to the Olympics or the Pan American Games or World Champion Games or even to the Division Three championships, on a player of his size, and once again, as a freshman, these are still good numbers. Probably translating to low 4.6s, high 4.5s in the 40, which is once again a good target market, a good place to be when you are a guy who's perhaps a tight end projection, or at least a big power slot wide receiver. Had a great year last year. Made D3 All-Region third team, and frankly, I thought he was a second team All-American, but, tough grading out there. But he led the team in catches. He had 44 catches, 1,001 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Pretty much unstoppable in the red zone, which you would expect. Once again, he's playing at that level. He's big and he's fast. He had 22.75 yards per reception, which was 16th in all of D3, third in his conference. And his 1,001 yards was 24th in D3 and 4th in the conference. It's one of the better conferences, the Pennsylvania Athletic Conference, one of the better conferences in D3. It's sort of like as the PSAC is to D2, the PAC is to D3. It's a very competitive top to bottom conference. He is already, I think, 11th all time at Case Western Reserve, the Tartans, if memory serves you correctly, in career receiving yards, and his career receiving average at 18.09 is second in the history of the program, and he already has 18 touchdowns, which is 8th. So if he has another big year, let's say he goes over 1,200 yards, he averages, once again, somewhere between 21 and 23 yards per reception, and let's say he gets another 10 or so receiving touchdowns, he could end up in the top 1 to 3 in almost every one of the categories they have there at the school. And I'm bothering, at least a little bit, Jim Nagy, probably more my old friend Eric Galco, about the opportunities for this young man to continue. Worst case scenario, maybe like the Gridiron Showcase or NFLPA game, but I could easily see him having a really solid impact at the Shrine Game and maybe even the Senior Bowl. But the next player is a player that I think is a really good, like middle solid fit for Shrine, and could even be a guy that moves up to the Senior Bowl. And once again, possibly even a projection up just due to his size. So TaMuarion Wilson of University of Central Arkansas, is a big safety. Listed at 6'2", probably legit 6'1 and a half, 6'1 and 5/8, about 214 to 216, somewhere in that range. He's in the lower two teens to mid two teens. And you look at him, your immediate thought is box safety. And he first came on the radar in the 2022 season. And when I saw him that year, he had 11 starts at safety. But he wasn't playing in the box, right? He played all over. Led the team that year in tackles, which he'd done also the year prior as a freshman. He was also number one in the, I think they were in the ASUN, the Atlantic Sun, or whatever conference that year, and had 104 total tackles. And here's the number I care about, really. 69 of those were solo tackles. So about a 2-to-1 ratio almost, right? 35 assists. That's what I'm looking for, right? Are you getting there first, 2 times out of every 3 times you're involved in a tackle? That gets me excited. He had 2 sacks that year for a total of 6.5 tackles for loss. He also had forced a couple of fumbles, had 2 interceptions. So he's affecting, it's ball production, right? He's making the ball come out or getting the ball himself 4 times. That's great. And he was a double-digit tackler 4 times. His season high was against Lindenwood, where he had 13. He also hit the 12 number twice, once against Southeast Missouri State, and the other one time against Austin Peay. Those are solid programs. He had 10 tackles against Jacksonville State, which is now an FCS program, and had a couple of tackles for loss. He also had a sack and a forced fumble versus Idaho State, 13 total tackles, and a sack against, as I mentioned, an interception against Lindenwood, right? He destroyed Lindenwood practically in that game. Then, last year, used slightly differently, but still had a really good season, was number 2 on the team in returning tackles, number 3 on the team total, had 64 total tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 8 pass breakups. And that's a really good number. Once again, for a guy that you see that size, you're thinking box, but no, he can play all over. Was first team all conference, and also had at least 5 tackles in 10 out of the 11 games. 9 against SEMO, so 2 big games at SEMO. Also had an interception in Southeast Missouri State, and also Southern Utah, which is a good team as well. He's coming in now at 265 total tackles for his career, which leads the team, obviously, amongst active players, and was preseason all conference. What do I see from him? What I would want to see from him? I want to see him I want to see him used more as a blitzer. Go back. He's a really good blitzer. I'd like to see him also do some more. He plays a fair amount of zone, but also see more man coverage. I want to see him man up against running backs coming out of the backfield, tight ends, and slot receivers. If he shows that he can play in the nickel and play in the nickel at a high level, can play in the box at a high level, and play deep middle safety, and test well with that size, I can't imagine why he wouldn't be drafted. I think that's at least, he runs in the low 4.5s at that size. To me, that's at least a 6th round draft pick, possibly even a mid to late 5th rounder. If he runs in the 4.4s at that size, I'm not letting him get out of the late 4th, early 5th. He's a guy who can potentially play linebacker, 10 to 12 pounds. Boom, you got a linebacker. Or, once again, because you want to be able to, when teams go up tempo, keep that same group on the field. He could be a guy that could play everything from potentially nickelback to linebacker with his skill set. So I'm excited about him for a bunch of reasons. So those are the 2 players I'm covering for today. I will have 2 more for you tomorrow. Once again, this is Bill Carroll from Zenny 62 Media, working my way through my 2024 and 2025 watch list for, of course, the season and the draft to follow. And I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you so much.